What's good, beautiful people? It's your girl, Ashley Janae. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is your first time at my channel, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. As you guys can kind of tell from the title, today's video is going to be a bit of a story time and kind of like a catch up. Where have I been? What have I been up to? And things like that, because I haven't posted in just over a year, I think. And it's because there were a lot of things going on in my life, just back to back to back. And we all go through those periods where life happens, but I missed making videos. I really enjoy just doing this. I like the outlet of having a YouTube channel, the feedback that I get from people, knowing that I'm able to help people. Because they send me messages or find me on Instagram like, man, that really helps. So I like doing this, and I didn't want to just poof disappear. So here we go. Back in February of this year, I went to the doctor for a routine checkup. And at the checkup, I got my results back a few days later online. You can check your results on your health chart. And there showed some abnormalities. And so I reached out to my PCP and I asked her, like, hey, what's up with these abnormalities? What does this mean? And actually, she told me, you know, don't worry about it. You just follow up in about a year. And I was like, huh. And for me, I had already had some things going on. So I already felt like something was wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something in my body just did not feel right. And you guys know me, just based on the videos I make and the things that I do, my lifestyle and my focus is really geared toward health and nutrition. Not to say that I'm the healthiest person that there is, but a lot of you, if you've been following my journey, know that I started on this journey because I watched my grandparents go through their various health struggles, starting all the way back in 2008. And that kind of began the process of me wanting to just learn and explore more about health, about wellness, about nutrition, the effects of different types of diets on your health, the effects of different types of exercises on your health. And so it's been an up and down journey like everything else. But anytime I get new information, I start researching right away. And then that's when I try to apply it to my life. And then when I see the results, I'll come and share it. So when I saw that, I was kind of shocked. So when I saw, I was like, abnormalities, that's weird. But things had been going on with me. And I was like, okay, you know what? So I reached back out and I said, I really would like a referral to go see a specialist. And so I went to go see the specialist. And to make a much longer part of the story short, she had to run a few tests. I had to go back twice to her. She did some scans and things like that. And she saw what's called adenocarcinoma. And actually, at the time, I had no idea what that meant. So it didn't even click to me that means cancer. But she said adenocarcinoma. And the way it was explained to me, and I'm not a health professional, but the way it was explained to me was that it's called adenocarcinoma instead of cancer, kind of because it's in one spot and it's kind of controlled. Maybe it's not spreading or getting out of control. Either way, I just said, okay, what does that mean? What do we do? And basically, there were some cells that were affected and were damaged, and they were all located in one central area where they did the biopsies. So I said, okay. And so she recommended that I have one of two procedures. And she said I would have to have the second of the two procedures because it was more advanced than she would like it to be. So I couldn't get the outpatient procedure. I would have to go to a hospital, get into a surgery room, an operation room, and have a minor operation. That's how she said. She said it's a minor operation. And I said, okay. Now that's March. And me, being me, my first instinct is to avoid drugs when at all possible. Um, so I found a naturopath who was very well acclaimed, I'll say, for lack of a better phrase, but she had a very good reputation. She came highly recommended, and I reached out to her. She has a wellness clinic, and it's an overnight facility where you stay there, and they have different methods of healing, all everything from chiropractic care to juicing to fasting, etc. So I reached out to see if they had any openings available. And of course, this is not something that my insurance was going to cover. But I reached out, and she said in the following month, at the end of April, she would have an opening for me. And when I told her my situation, um, she recommended that I do a water fast. And I said, okay. And I had heard about water fasting from several different doctors. And they're very well known in the naturopathic space and have gotten a lot of great reviews, great feedback, great results with the patients that they've cared for. So I said, okay. So I took a leap, not just me, the people that I care about, um, the people that are closest to me all knew and said, we're going to help you because, this was not something insurance covered and you had to cover the cost of care. So my mom pitched in, like everybody pitched in, my dad pitched in to help me out and make sure that I got to this wellness center and got it paid for because I was looking at spending no less than 40 days at this center. And now this is an overnight center. So it's leave home, pack your bags, go to this location. And you're going to drink water for the next 4 weeks. And that's it. And so the regimen was you drink water, you rest, you allow your body to detox itself so you can begin the healing process. And she told me right at the outset, with what you're dealing with, there's definitely no guarantee because of the type of issues that you're having. She was like, but if you're willing to try, let's do it. So end of April, I drove out there, the very end of April actually, because I spent my entire May, I was gone. I left, and I was at the wellness facility. And anybody that knows that my birthday's in May. Several of my family members' birthdays are in May, right, and in June. So I was like, I'm gonna be gone for everything. Holidays are in May. Mother's Day is in May, and I was like, But at the same time, it was just like, I need my health to be right. So I went out there and I really just had to prepare myself mentally more than anything because I knew that I was about to embark on one of the hardest tasks I had ever undertaken because she let me know like there's no breaking the fast, like you got to go all in for the body to really begin the process. And it was such an amazing journey. It really was. And after a week of being, so I did sign up, I did go, and I was there just under 40 days. I was there like 5.5 weeks because even after you end your fast, they want to make sure that you're eating slowly and gradually and getting back to where you need to be. But I got there and I felt good. The doctor was great. And the main rule was you have to rest. And not only are you paying attention to what you're putting in your body through your mouth, you're paying attention to what you're looking at, you're paying attention to what you're listening to, you're paying attention to how much you're on the phone. Like the doctor wanted this to be a full on rest and recovery. And that was really transformational in so many ways. Also, it was hard. The food part, in so many ways, was a non issue. It was a non issue because after a week, you're not hungry. After a week, you're just dealing with cravings like I want to chew, or I'm thinking about something sweet, or for me, that's what it was. But you aren't hungry, like your body isn't feeling hunger pangs or anything like that. By the time I got to week 3, like we're in 23, 24, 25 days of no food, just water, resting every day. The hardest part then became the mental part. Not so much in worrying about food, but just kind of like the loneliness that you can feel. Now, some people, they're like, okay, I can be alone for a long time. I'm not that person. And I like my alone time. I can be gone in a way for 4 or 5 days, not talk to anybody. I'll be completely fine. But getting into that third, fourth, and fifth week was really a struggle. I felt depression try to set in a little bit. I realized that, like, at that last week or like fourth or fifth week, I would cry every now and then, just like, I miss home. I miss getting a hug. I miss being able to see people. You're away from everything you know, from your bed, the people that you love. I'm away from my dogs. I'm away from my block. I'm away from my job. And my job, they were so amazing because they understood what was going on. They're like, hey, you're not the first person that's had to go through something like this. So we're here. We support you 100%. And I was just like, wow, thank you. Because it could have been so much different. It's different for other people. But the mental toughness that I'm used to having, excuse me, that was wearing off. That was wearing off. And I wasn't even trying. But the cool thing was I gained some friendships in the process. There were a couple young ladies there at the clinic as well that I really got to bond with. Amazing people. But also people who were going through their own set of unbelievable circumstances and their own dose of pain and heartache that just you can't even imagine sometimes that somebody else is going through this, looking like a normal person, just smiling and laughing and just so sweet, and they're going through it. But I got through that. So that was May, and maybe I'll make another video about my time there because there was so much that happened. But people came to visit me. The people that love me, they came to visit me on my birthday and a few other times just to say hi and keep me company. But I wasn't close, so it couldn't be every day. And my doctor was like, you need to be resting. So I got through that process. That was all of May going into June. So then June, I come back home and I have to go get retested because I told my doctor what I was doing. My doctor said, okay, I want you to do this process, but if this is something you feel like you need to do, going to this wellness center, I'm all for it. And I said, okay. And I appreciated that. So I left and I had a video visit with my doctor my last week that I was at the wellness center, and she checked on me to see how I was doing, and my medical doctor, and she checked on me to see how I was doing. And I told her, she was like, okay, make sure, You just take it easy. We got to get you right back in here to get tested, see how things are going, yada, yada. So everything goes on. And when I get back, my body is not the same that it was. So my strength is not the same. I had lost a bunch of weight because I wasn't eating. And my doctor said, your weight comes back on its own. I lost like 35 pounds or something. And some people are like, oh, wow. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was to clean my body out. And it did. Yeah, that's why I need to make another video, because the detox process was a lot. But so I came back, and like a week or two later, I had to go get tested again. And this time she wanted to do a little bit more of an extensive test, which meant where the first time they did like 3 or 4 biopsies, this time she did about 10, to really try to understand the extent of what I was dealing with. And it came back bad news. And so I think I should backtrack real quick. So the type of cancer, or where the cancer was in my cervix. And when you get the original test, they do this test called a colposcopy. And my doctor, on the original test, before I went to the wellness center, she said, okay, they got to let you know what the next steps are going to be. So after we did the testing, she wanted to let me know, okay, she said, when we get your results back, you're going to get between like a 1 and 4. Okay. She was like, a 1 is going to be our best case scenario, and we'll discuss next steps. A 4, that's going to be, that's up there. And then we have to discuss different types of surgeries and things like that. She was like, we don't want a 4. She was like, 1 and 4. That's what it's going to be. Or a 1 to 3. And I said, okay. And not even, I don't think 2 weeks later, because I usually check my medical records online. They have it so patients can check their medical records online. And I had kept looking for several days and nothing was on there. And then one day I get a phone call, and my doctor says, hey, this is Dr. Such and Such. And my heart kind of dropped, because there's really no reason for your doctor to call you. Well, at least not where we are in my circumstance. The doctor just put your results online. So she said, hey, remember we talked about the 1 to 3. You're past that. And I think in that moment, my world collapsed a little bit. I kind of feel it right now. She said, you're past that. And I said, what does that mean? And basically what it meant was, you have cancer and we need to get rid of this cancer. Okay, so then so on and so forth. So now, fast forward back to after the wellness center, I need to get retested again. So I go get retested. She does a little bit more of an extensive test, so to say, because she did several more biopsies than they did the first time, to see how invasive it was. And so it came back that every biopsy showed cancer in it. And that was bad news, because those original 2 options that she gave me, where she said you could have a outpatient or the surgery. The surgery is called a LEAP procedure. They have a LEAP procedure, or a cone biopsy. The LEAP procedure, she told me at the beginning I was too advanced for a LEAP procedure, which is the outpatient procedure. So the second procedure, the cone biopsy, is where they take a portion of your cervix out. And the way it was described is the shape of a cone. It's about the size of your thumb, out of your cervix. And for those of you who don't know, your cervix isn't that big. It's probably like this big. So it's already not that big to start with. And your cervix is important because that's how you hold in children. so you can go to term during your labor. Um, so when we got these second results back and we found out how advanced it was, my doctor then said, I have to recommend you to another specialist. And so that was like, what? I've been with this doctor for a little while now and I've been only communicating with her. So she said, I have to recommend you to someone else. And I said, why? And basically, it came down to because it was advanced as it was, I needed a much more advanced surgery and other types of treatment. So now we're in June, mind you, we're in June. So we went back and forth for a couple days because in my mind just didn't understand. I was like, well, you knew these results months ago and you were going to do the surgery. And basically, what it came down to was that because she had only done those few biopsies in the original testing, there was no way for her to know how advanced it was. But that cone biopsy, that procedure I was going to have, that would have let them know if they needed to do the surgery again. And I had already been completely freaked out because putting a giant hole in your cervix can really affect your ability to carry children to term. So she'd already told me that we were definitely going to have to do it once and then possibly or probably twice. So now knowing as advanced as it was, I was like, oh, wow. So yada yada. They wound up sending me to the James. And here where I live, the James is one of the biggest cancer hospitals that we have here in Ohio. People come from everywhere to go to this cancer hospital. And because it's attached to the Ohio State University. So she referred me to the James. I met with a surgeon, another doctor over there, who, by the way, is amazing. I love her. Um, but I met with this doctor and she had to do her own set of tests and things like that. And what they need to know and what matters in these types of conversations because of where the cancer is in my cervix um, is where you are with having kids. Like, is fertility something that you want to spare? Is fertility something you're like, have my kids, I'm done, or I don't want kids, I don't care? What is your circumstance? And my circumstance is I definitely want children. And the recommended, it's called standard of care for the type of cancer I have, for the staging that it's at, is a full hysterectomy. For me, that was not an option. That is not an option. And so the doctor at the James, she gave me options that I didn't even know were available to me. So, yada yada. I wound up getting the staging and everything um, for the cancer, and figuring out what type of procedure they had to do, what kind of surgery I would have to have. And that got scheduled for August. So that was June when I found out. And I was scheduled for surgery mid-August. So mid-August comes, and I've seen my doctor a few times getting ready. They have to get you, prepared in certain ways. And then, of course, now there's extra steps. You got to go take COVID tests and things like that before surgery. But mid-August comes, and I'm scheduled for surgery. My surgery is scheduled for 10 o'clock in the morning. And it's supposed to be a, excuse me, it's supposed to be a like 4-hour surgery. So I get to the hospital, I think around 8:30 or 9. And of course I couldn't eat from the day before because you have to get anesthesia and things like that. And my doctor said, this is major surgery. And I've never had a surgery before. I never had a broken bone until I broke my toe in 2 places like 3-4 years ago. And so I'd never had a surgery before, but I've had to see people go through this. My mom's had a few surgeries. And then both my grandparents on my father's side had to deal with cancer. And possibly my grandfather on my mom's side, are just not sure. But so many people that have been close to me, I watched go through this journey. And that has its own kind of hurt. That has its own kind of pain attached to it when you see someone that you love and there's nothing that you can do for them. But I was like, okay, I'm good. And my mindset is always, good energy. You need to have good energy going into this. There's no room for fear. You're going to do what you have to do. You're going to be good. And it's interesting because there's a different kind of feeling when you have to put your life in someone else's hands. Because once they put the anesthesia in you, you're out. They're cutting your body open. And there's nothing you can do. And you better hope it goes well, and then you gotta hope you wake up from anesthesia, because all these things are very real and very heavy, and sometimes not until you're in that position do you realize just how heavy they are. So we get prepared for surgery. It's my mom and babe came with me, and they were there all day. I think it definitely took longer than the 4 hours. I don't know. I just know that I didn't get in my room, because they have your post-op room after surgery, and then they send you to your regular room, because I had to be in the hospital for 4 days. I didn't get to my room until like 8 o'clock at night. That's what they told me. It was 8 o'clock at night when I got to my room. And they said I was only in post-op for not even an hour. So that's how long the surgery was. And from there, without getting into too many details, from there, those next 4 days were so extremely painful. I had to have a catheter for the first 2 days, and then they had to make sure that there was no damage done, because there's different nerve endings and things that you have. So they had to make sure that there was no damage done. So you have to get up, you have to walk. And for me, it kind of felt like torture. I was like, these people are crazy and they're trying to kill me, because they were like, yeah, we need you to get up and walk. And I'm like, I'll kill you right now. Like, I'll fight you if you try to make me get out this bed and walk. But I did. I appreciate so much the nurses at the James that were helping me, because there's this one kid in there, I think his name is Caleb. He showed me how to get out of bed, and you don't realize how important something like that is, because everything on my body hurt. And every time I moved, when I breathed, when I coughed, if I took a deep breath, it was so excruciatingly painful. And he showed me this way to get out of bed to make that pain far less painful. And wow, he helped me when it was like, All right, now this is what you do when we're walking. And they have this strap, this belt that they put on you. So when you're walking on the walker, you don't fall over and things like that. But he was just so great. All of my nurses were amazing. They were just so accommodating, so patient, so kind. Big shout out to the James, to those nurses, and I think they're called PCAs, patient care associates, or something like that. The PCAs that helped me, they were amazing. But those next couple days, my mom and babe were there every day and got me through it. There were lots of tears. I kind of fell into this really negative mental space and didn't know it and couldn't see it until a week or two after I got out of the hospital. What would be helpful and what would have been helpful, and I didn't know this until I talked to my mom, because she said you need to speak to somebody right away. Because whenever you have a surgery, you know, your hormones can be messed up and things like that. And then it's trauma. Surgery is trauma, and it affects your brain. And I do mental health work. So I knew, and I was cognizant of the fact that I knew my emotions were going to kind of be all over the place. And I was trying to be mindful of how I was speaking to people, how I was viewing things in light of that fact. However, not being able to do things on your own, having to ask people for help. I couldn't even pee. Like, just to be blunt, like, it was hard to just use the bathroom, just to pee. Like, I didn't have to learn how to pee, but in some ways it felt like that. There were parts of my body, and still are, like, there's a part of my leg that's still numb, and we're going into the second week of October. There's a part of my right leg that's still completely numb just from getting the shots in the hospital. There's a part of my stomach that's still completely numb. My abdomen is still completely numb. And it might be like that for a while. The recovery is like a year. Not being able to pick up things, push or pull things. Just not being able to live your life the way that you're used to can have its own kind of devastating effects. What was super helpful was all the people that pitched in to help and all the people that came by. I had a kickback right before I had surgery, and all the people there knew, like, I'm about to have surgery, and it was, you know, lots of well wishes, and we just gonna laugh and have fun and things like that. And we did. It was so much fun. And then they was checking on me, like, how you doing? And are you hanging in there? Are you holding still? Because they're like, Ashley, don't hold still. But I have been. I've been doing what I'm supposed to do. And even my neighbors, like my neighbor across the street, he's been taking my trash can up and down on trash day and recycle day. And my neighbors, because my neighbor next to me is an older woman. She's known me my whole life. So I take her trash can down. And I haven't been able to do either. He did both. He was never asked. And it's just stuff like that. All my neighbors looking out for me, texting me, how you feeling? You making sure you're not doing nothing? My neighbor one day saw the FedEx man put a package on my steps. And as I was standing there staring at it, almost ready to cry, because I was like, I can't even pick it up and put it in my house. And it seems like a small thing, but for where my mind was, for me, it hurt. He saw me from down the street, because he lives like 5 or 6 houses down on the other side of the street. He said, hey, you better not be trying to pick that package up. And I said, I'm not. He walks down the street. He was like, were you about to pick this package up? Nope. He was like, I seen you looking at it. I was like, that's all I was doing. So he comes from down the street, picks up the package, and puts it in my house. Those things just were like amazing. My mom and babe brought all these things to the hospital, like things to make me smile. They had a pill bottle little glass bottle with a cork in it. Looks like it's a bunch of pills. You open it up and they're little notes. And all these different people wrote little notes, like something funny, something that was an inside joke between us. They had these butterflies that flew around the room and stuff like that. It was just great because being in the bed versus being beside the bed are two very different things. I've been beside the bed so many times for surgeries, for passings, for pain in various ways. Being in the bed is an entirely different world altogether. It opened up my eyes to see new things. One day, my mom was taking me to a doctor's appointment, or we just left a doctor's appointment, and I saw this man. He had a cancer ribbon on his computer, and the same one on his shirt. And mind you, we're like one little lot over from the doctor's office we had just left, and it was teal. And I knew what it was because something like the week before made me realize that all these different types of ribbons that you see all have a different meaning. And so I looked it up, and it said like reproductive cancers, for like cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, things like that. The ribbon is teal. And I was like, oh my God. And now this is a man, so I'm like, either his daughter or his wife is going through this. And so I stopped. We had a quick little conversation, and I felt bad, but it was like, wow, I probably would have never saw him had I not known. And one day I went to go get blood. I had to go give blood so they could do my vitals. And the young lady who was doing my blood work, she probably was in her late 20s, early 30s. Just having that quick conversation with her, she had cervical cancer and ovarian cancer at age 13. And she was just so encouraging. She was like, you know what? You're going to get through it. She was like, I'm not going to say it's easy. It's a hard battle, but you'll get through it. Keep fighting. 13? And it just seemed like everywhere that I went, there was someone there to be encouraging. There was someone there who understood. Even a judge that I know, who she had her own battle, and I don't want to say her name because I don't like telling other people's business, but she went through her own battle with cancer. One of my neighbors down the street, she went through her own battle with cancer. And it's like you find this community that you never asked to be a part of, and you really don't want to be a part of, but at least it's there because you need it. I talked to one of the caseworkers, one of the counselors, not too long ago, and that's something that we're going to do on a monthly basis. She encouraged me. She gave me lots of resources because I realized that outside of the people who love me and are looking out for me, you do need a community of people who understand literally what you're going through. So, how do you get this kind of cancer? Because anybody that's been following my channel for a while knows that one of my main concerns has always been disease and cancer, specifically, because I had to watch my grandparents go through their own battles. And so I asked my doctor, because I know I don't have the best diet, but I don't eat a bunch of meat, and I don't, certain things that I don't do, like I don't use chemicals and things like that. And she said, well, this kind of cancer is tricky because this one, she said, while most cancers are definitely a lifestyle type of cancer, this one comes from a virus. And the virus that I contracted is called HPV, human papilloma virus, and it's an STD. And so when I first found out, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I was like, how would I have not known that I have an STD? Like, you get your regular checkup, women get their checkups. And the last time I got my checkup, it had been a while, but I moved here um, from Maryland in 2014, 2015, and I got a checkup and I was good. And I said, could it have been there and it not shown up? No. So I said, okay. I said, is this new? Like I said, I've been in a committed relationship for a long time. Um, and the person I'm with, they got tested. They don't have it. I was only with one other person. That was the person I was married to. And and the doctor said that actually this is more common than people know. She was like, it's the type of STD that can be a silent killer because there's zero symptoms for it. You'll never know that you have it, especially men, because they don't have the same type of problems in their body like women do. So women wind up in so many cases with some type of cancer. Not in every situation. For a lot of people, especially if you contract it in like your early 20s or something like that, when your immune system is probably at its strongest, it kind of can resolve itself and it'll go away. So you've had it, you could have it in your body, but it goes away and it doesn't affect you. If you're like me and you contract it after your 20s, then your body is going to have a little bit harder time um, fighting it in so many ways. So I was like, well, how? Like, how could I not know? And then she told me it's common that over 80% or something like that of people have it and don't even know it. And I'm like, of all the things that you learn about, this should be the number one. If so many people have it and it can affect us, half the population or women, in such an adverse way, that's mind blowing to me. I also found out that of cervical cancers, over 70% of cervical cancers are caused by HPV. That's alarming. And I had no idea. And see, when I was young, there was no such thing as like a shot or a pill or anything that you could take. But I think there is now. Um, that's, I'm not at that place anymore. But I think there is now, excuse me. But when I was younger, that wasn't an option. At least not one that I'd ever heard of. And she told me, like, in medical terms, this is kind of new in some ways. But yeah, so for me, being the person that's all about nutrition and all about lifestyle and things like that, one of the heartbreaking parts was that I knew, not that there was nothing I can do about it, but it kind of felt like all the work I've been doing to make sure I'm healthy, all the work I've been doing to avoid cancer, and I get cancer. That was probably one of the most deep mental battles I probably had to deal with. Because it's one thing to know that you have a problem and that your diet and lifestyle can change it. It's something very different to know that there's a virus in your body that is causing these problems. And it's not that there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm still, I'm juicing every day. My turmeric, my ginger, juicing, vitamin D, vitamin B, um, lots of fruits and vegetables. I'm doing those things. I've been the wellness center, if nothing else. Well, it was so much to it with all the detoxing and stuff, but it helped me kick my sugar cravings. Literally since April, I haven't had sugar cravings or sugar the way that I used to. Like I probably had sugar 3 times since April. Literally, that's it. Like 3 days I can count on one hand. That's what I had. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to really make this video to be encouraging. I wanted to make this video to let somebody know that you're not alone. And you just got to keep pushing, keep fighting, and please keep laughing and smiling with the people that you love because it will make a difference. This is one small part of one chapter of your life. And maybe it might be a few chapters. Maybe the part is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer than you want it to be. But my hope is that you get through it, especially that you get through it with the people that love you and that are there to support you. Because I have people, and I'm so fortunate, I know that, to have people around me that love me and that have been encouraging me every step of the way. So I hope that you're encouraged. And if you have any questions, because I know this might not have been the most coherent video, I didn't plan it, I just wanted to put it out there. So if you have any questions, hit me up. If you've been going through your own battle, let me know. I've learned that these stories and others like it are helpful for me and for others. So let me know about your journey. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them in the best way that I can. So yeah, be encouraged. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.